Right, so in today's video we're going to be putting the GTI in a dyno, confirming whether or not it's stock. I think it's stage 1. We're also going to be giving it a full inspection to check whether or not it's a bag of nails, whether it's crash damaged. All of that's going to be taking place at MRC Tuning, which we'll head to shortly. I'll give you guys a quick run through of the exterior and interior just in case you're new to the channel. This is the cheapest GTI in the UK, Mark 7 of course. Paid just under £9,000. I know you DSG fanboys were complaining, but I'm sick of DSG for now, so I'm glad this thing's a manual. Clutch was smoking in the introduction video, as you saw. The only kind of issue I've noticed so far since the first drive is that the coolant usage has gone really crazy. Like, I'm having to top this up every day. And also the color of the fluid, it still hasn't changed to pink. The amount of coolant that I've put in this thing, you think by now it'd be a pinkish color, but I think either this header tank's got some rust in it or the silicone bag's probably burst. But I think I'll probably need to get the water pump and thermostat done. Here's a common issue on these. I have also noticed that this headlight is not fully in. When we look at that there, it's not even in properly. So this has definitely been off. In the history as well, I found a invoice for a new front grille, so it's probably had a light knock at the front. I did do a full V-check when I bought this thing and there was no sign of any crash damage that was recorded, but you can have light knocks and not declare to your insurance. So the main thing is checking out whether or not these chassis rails are straight. We'll find out once it's on the ramp in a bit. It's got 128,000 miles, so you'd expect a bit of wear. I know some of you folks have pointed out the lack of an engine cover. Now I do have that, but this is quite a unique GTI in that the engine cover is actually in the boot, so you know exactly where it's supposed to be, of course. There we have it. It's got a broken pin, so I think some mechanic didn't know how to pull off quite a simple engine cover and broke it. So the only real sign of abuse on the interior is this handle here. Looks like it's been chewed on by a wild animal or potentially a human, you never know these days. The rest of it's good. Bolsters are sound, and that door makes a funky noise. There's probably glass in there, like you guys mentioned. Maybe there was a smash and grab on this thing in the past. But yeah, if you are new to the channel, make sure you do subscribe if you want to see a lot more content. Still got the M140i build going on, the R32 still there, and yes, the Volvo's still here. But we'll bring some of the other cars back into the content line, just getting up to sort of scratch with this, and yeah, we'll get everything done. I'll stop rambling, let's get cracking. Right folks, so we made it down to MRC Tuning. The cheap GTI sits on the motorway flawlessly. As you can see, there's a bunch of Audi RSs here as usual, so we're definitely in the right place. I'm gonna get the car up on the ramp now, just dust it down. Dean's just putting the seat cover and all that good stuff on the car. Mark 7. It's probably the only Volkswagen in here today. Doesn't look too bad for the cheapest in the UK. I mean, even though it did have a detail apparently, questionable one, but we're going to sort all of that. Right, so the Mark 7 GTI is inside, it's on the ramp, we're here with Dean.
How we doing, all right?
All good. In terms of the engine bay, I mean, it's definitely very dusty. We were just saying as well, the coil packs, you were saying the original?
Yeah, so the coil packs are E-Revision, which look original. They die out pretty quick when you put more stress through them. Stock airbox, stock air filter.
Yeah, we had a look at this, didn't we? Inside.
Yeah, the grate inside is still in there as well. A lot of those get pulled out when you tune them to get rid of the flow restriction.
Turbo back there. Obviously, there should be a standard IS20 on this one, if it's not been felled with. I mean, it's...
Yeah, nothing looks like it's been played with. All of the clamps, exhaust clamps, downpipe, all that sort of thing, they're all in after, like, original factory positions, so...
Yeah.
I don't think that's been played with. Your brake fluid is quite low. You usually have a little strainer in the top of the bottle here to filter the fluid that goes in. That's missing.
Right, okay.
And the fluid is very low. That could mean that you've got some brakes on the way out.
Brakes on the way out, that's a great sign.
We'll look at in a bit.
So this is a standard GTI, so you've got the smaller caliper.
Obviously discs, as expected for this kind of mileage, pretty lipped, pretty corroded. Pads aren't far off of being completely worn out. A couple of things with the suspension, so no broken springs or anything, that's all good. No serious play in anything. Got a shock boot that's split and come down. Again, common on these really.
It's interesting because obviously the MQB, we still sort of think of it as like a newish platform. I mean, it still is fairly new, but with this being one of the first model year cars, that was 2013, that's what, 8 years old now, so get in there.
It's basically a Mark 5 years later.
Yeah. There's going to be a bunch of Mark 5 references in this video, can't help it.
Yeah, so noting your aircon rad, pretty damaged to be fair. If you can see in there, all the fins have been damaged.
Yeah.
Obviously you got the debris from the road, goes straight into that. That's the first port of call for everything. We see a lot of these on the Mark 7 platform.
Right, okay.
So where the damage is there, it will then block up and it's going to restrict all the airflow to the intercooler.
Of course, yeah.
It does make a difference, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So
definitely, it makes logical sense, I suppose. That being all blocked up, you're not going to get air through to the actual thing that helps with your power.
Exactly that, yeah. So when we do intercoolers on the tuning side of things, we do recommend doing the aircon rad if it's in that kind of condition. Yeah, rear again. So the disc pads are pretty good on the rear. They've been changed not too long ago. There's no play or anything in there. There's no grabbing, so the calipers, we know they're pretty good. There's no nothing seized up there.
Arch liners all intact as well. It's a good sign.
Got all 4 arch lines in there.
That's a first for me. Usually that doesn't happen, but same matching Pirellis on the back. I mean, I'm not a Pirelli guy, but the fact it's got 4 matching ones, I can't knock it, especially at the price.
So the wheel bearings, your front left wheel bearing's got a little bit of play in it. A little bit noisy when you get up to speed.
Yeah.
So that would need changing at some point, and it is usually the left that goes first, because if you go roundabouts to the right, more weight on the left. We tend to see them go more often. But.
Right, so we went ahead and got the under tray off because we've already given it a quick look. What did we find then?
So there's a couple of nasty bits under here really. Most common thing on these 2-litre engines is the thermostat and water pump.
Yep.
They sit on the front of the engine and they are very prone to leaking. So you can see all the white and brown residue and the like where the bolts have gone pink there.
Yeah.
That is sign that coolant has leaked out of there. It does have a tendency to congeal and kind of reseal itself, so you won't always see it wet as such, but you will see evidence it's been leaking.
Okay.
So something that we always recommend to customers to get sorted,
Yeah.
so you don't have any more issues in the future. But again, really common, kind of expected it.
I mean, I had the EA AAA and an S3 a few years ago, and that at 6,000 miles, it needed a new water pump and thermostat.
Yeah.
This, I couldn't find any recorded history in the sort of files I've got, but yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be something that needs doing anyway at some point, regardless.
Yeah, they can let go at 5,000-6,000 miles.
Yeah.
They can last right up until now. So the boots have got a little bit of dampness on there, but I reckon that's from where they've sprayed the track rod ends to do the alignment.
Yeah.
There's no damage to the boots. All the stock clips are still intact, so
yeah,
again, no issues really to report there.
This subframe looks like it's been at the seaside for a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, they all kind of tend to look like that.
Yeah.
I said to you earlier, after a couple of years, even with some of the higher end cars, it can be really clean on top, and then underneath, this is kind of general what you'd expect to see. So
yeah,
if anything, it's quite good for the amount of mileage it's done. So.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
So all the dog bar and everything's all standard, no insert as well?
Yeah, no insert in there. Everything looks to be stock, factory spec. So you've got your stock back. Bolts still face upwards, which is lovely. So
yeah,
that's all as it was when it came out of the factory. So moving to the back, you've got, again, everything is stock. Nothing looks like it's been touched. Minimal play in all your suspension bushes. Ever so slight wear and perishing on them, as you'd expect again for the age.
So this car does have DCC, which is adjustable dampers. So
that one's not as bad at the top there, but if you come over to this side, you'll see just that damp, the dark patches
at the
top there. So that's just evidence that they are starting to let go. So you've probably, with that much, you've probably not noticed anything driving it.
No, it does seem to be. It does seem to differentiate itself, going from comfort to sport to normal. So
the DCC is still operational. There aren't any codes for that. So
rear arms,
pretty good. Rear arms.
They
are the kind of lead-in part that will see all of the grime and the dust and the salt from the road. So again, you'd expect to see quite a bit of corrosion on the front of them.
I mean, it just reminds me of Mark 5, so that's always a good sign.
Springs, they can be popular to snap at the bottom where they seat into the arms. There's nothing that you can feel under there to say that there's any damage to those. So
yeah,
again, pretty good.
In terms of the chassis rails, so there's no
chassis rails are pretty straight. There's no evidence to say they've been bent, played with, welded up, nothing nasty like that.
That's probably the most crucial bit. It's not a ringer. Cool. So what we'll do before the car heads over to the dyno and we see whether or not this car is stuck or not, we'll just show you some of the codes that we found.
So yeah, we've got an auto scan here, which basically just scans all of the modules in the car, gives us any fault codes when and what conditions they happened. So you did have one code in your engine, which was the engine oil temp sensor. It has cleared and it hasn't come back, but it is something to watch. Sometimes they just have a fault with the sensor. A code for the control circuit for the fuel tank flap. That can be a random code thrown up. It did clear, didn't come back.
Right.
You had any issues with your fuel tank flap opening it?
No, nothing
They've got
really.
a little pin that froze over when you lock the car, so it's usually that little pin that plays up. Rain light recognition sensor, it's got some kind of internal fault with that.
Yeah.
Again, it's an intermittent code, it did clear, but it has happened 9 times, so it's something to watch out for.
Yeah.
That's basically all of your auto wipers, all that kind of thing. With your ACC, so you've got an incorrectly positioned sensor.
Oh, okay, is that all it is?
That's what it is. So basically the sensor, because it's angled down and to the left, it's picking up the trim around.
Oh, right, okay.
So it doesn't know where it is, basically. So basically it just needs...
It's detecting its own bumper.
Basically, yeah. So it's thinking you've just crashed multiple times.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple of ball joints in there that secure it. So usually what we do, we pull them out, make sure everything sits okay.
Yeah.
Reseat it, and then you've got an adaptation to get it back to the normal settings.
Sound.
I think you're all good for codes.
It seems to be mainly sensor related stuff from what I can see. It's all just sensors.
That's the most common thing. Sometimes if they just don't see the signals they want, they can just throw up these codes.
I mean, overall I'm pretty pleased with it. I was expecting a few more issues potentially, but when I went to pick up the car I did scan it when I went to view it, and then I scanned it on collection, and I knew about a few of these cards anyway, so there's nothing really to worry about. I mean, sensors and ACC and all that stuff, I don't use it anyway, but it's good nevertheless. You never know until the car's been inspected properly by a proper place. I know some of you guys are going to probably be thinking, why have you not mentioned the fact that there's an RS2 in the background? So this is Doug's car, you'll meet him in a second. If you watch the videos you'll know anyway, you've seen it before, but you can't just do a video and walk past an RS2, you have to mention it. Look how convenient this is. Right, I'm not too sure if I've mentioned, but we are going to be putting a hybrid turbo on this car at some point. But let me know in the comments if you want me to do content on like stage 1 or stage 2. Maybe stage 2, I think, go straight to having a decap. Like we did with the 140i, we sort of spaced it out, but yeah, it's going to be good fun playing around with the EA 888 engine. Spent a lot of time with TFSI, so it's good to see what the next iteration of that is. But yeah, get in the comments and let me know what you think it's going to make. I can't... 195. That's a Mark 5 number, that is. Strapping it down because it's got too much power in it. That's what's happening here.
Yeah, I've got to use extra straps on this.
Yeah. 700 foot-pound of torque. Do you know you got a vlog set up, Dean?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll give you the details afterwards.
Yeah. I'm slacking. Look at mine. I even got a mic on my camera. Right, so we've done a few runs. We're here with Doug. We found out it's mapped, isn't it, essentially?
Yeah, it's running 1.5 bar down to 1.4 bar.
Okay.
It runs 6 degrees timing.
Yeah.
Retards a couple of degrees on a couple of cylinders.
So we're around 300 horsepower then, essentially, and 447 Newton meters.
Yep.
I mean, is that typically what a stage 1 would get on a Mark 7 GTI?
You'd get a little bit more on some of them, but there's nothing wrong with the way this is running. It's not pulsing or doing anything strange. So,
because I was under the impression that when these are mapped, you straight away would feel clutch slip, because I haven't felt anything too bad when driving it. It definitely felt stronger than 220.
the clutch pedal feels a little bit heavier than a new stock clutch, but the older a clutch gets, sometimes they get a little bit heavier, so it's hard to tell really. It's not 500 Newton meters, which some tunes do, so it's not as high as it could be.
So the GTI was mapped already. Pretty common, I suppose. Mark 7s are all pretty much fiddled with at this point, but yeah, we're going to flash it back to stock because we want to just see how it's like, just generally how a standard GTI would feel like. Just goes to show it, the butt dyno was correct. What are we predicting now then?
195.
195 again, yeah? You were about 100 horsepower off before.
I haven't driven it, I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully we'll make around 220, I'm going to go with. so stock map put back on the car. That's it, the dog. 239
yes.
PS. Still a decent power number for a standard GTI, isn't it? I mean, over what they claim.
Most of them do 230, 240 on this dyno standard.
Okay.
And that's running 1 bar, steps up to 1.1 bar, and then drops right down to 0.75 bar at red line, where it goes proper flat at the top end. You'll be able to handle this power now.
Yeah, I'm not used to that much powers before, man. 300 was too much for me. Right, so change of plan, couldn't help it. We're putting a base MRC stage 1 file on the car. Didn't last that long being stuck, did it, Dean? No.
Never do that on the road, do they?
No. 240 is a respectable amount, but you know, it's just gonna have a bit of fun until the next video, or whatever the next mod is. This is
so it's 306 PS and 475 newton meters, and that runs less boost than what you were running before. It just makes it a little bit more.
So it's just
stage 1.
Overall, just more efficient. I mean, that's pretty much a good power, really, where you want to be on a GTI, isn't it? I mean, for the most part, that's enough to have fun. 475 newton meters as opposed to 447 before.
So it comes in a little bit sooner, a little bit more torque, nearly all the way through the revs, and a little bit more when you're thrashing it. It's a stage 1, so it's not forced.
Yeah, of course.
This is 1.4 bar down to 1.3, so it's not as much as what it was running.
Was the other one 1.5?
1.5 down to 1.4.
Right, okay, so we're basically achieving more with just a bit less boost.
Just more timing, so it's more efficient.
I couldn't help it, staying on stock power lasted, what, 5 minutes literally. It's enough power now for me to handle, I guess. Maybe, yeah. Doug hasn't got high hopes for me. Right folks, I think we'll end the video here. Hopefully you enjoyed that full inspection of the GTI. It was quite thorough. We got a dyno running there, found out the car was mapped, then put it back to standard, and then we mapped it again. Good fun at tuning cars. But yeah, make sure you drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe for a lot more content to come. Also make sure you do check out MRC Tuning for all your VW Audi stuff. I'll probably be back here in a few videos time, or even the next video, I don't know at this point. Got a lot to do on that car. But yeah, take care, I'll see you in the next video.